And good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. I'm your host, Rosie, and today we're diving into a very important topic for anyone looking to work in New Zealand with the Accredited Employer Work Visa, or the AEWV. We'll be focusing on the key components of this visa and its requirements, like the job check and the labor market tests, specifically what they mean, how they work, and what both employers and migrant workers need to know. So to help us navigate this, I'm joined by Mr. Gurpreet Singh, or Gary, a New Zealand's licensed immigration and education advisor, also a member of the New Zealand Association for Migration and Investment, who is known for helping people about their immigration and education journey. Welcome to the session, Gurpreet.
Good evening, Kira, and thank you, Rosie, for the wonderful introduction. And it's great to be here, and thanks for inviting me today. And this is really an important topic, especially with all the updates to New Zealand's immigration settings and regularly changes. I'm excited to break it down in a way so that's easy for everyone to understand. And I've seen a number of times people often get scammed in the name of work visas, especially those who are out of New Zealand.
Yeah, thanks, Gurpreet. There's a lot of scammers out there for sure. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is the Accredited Employer Work Visa and who is it for?
Thanks, Rosie. That's a great question. The AEWV, which we call as an Accredited Employer Work Visa, is basically designed for migrant workers who have a job offer from New Zealand employers, who is officially an accredited employer by Immigration New Zealand. It has replaced several old work visas we had in the past, and this category of the work visa is more structured, led by the step-to-step process. So there are three main step process in this work visa application, which is what we call an employer accreditation, which means the employers who are offering the job to an applicant must be an accredited employers. Then they have to do the labor market test. And the next step they have to follow is the job check application. And then once the job check application is done, then the applicant or a worker, whosoever they want to offer the role, can apply for the work visa application, which is what we call accredited employer work visa application.
Oh, thanks, Gurpreet. Now, you mentioned something called the labor market test. Can you explain what that is and when it's required?
Absolutely, Rosie. The labor market test, which also known as LMT, is a key part of the job check process, but it's not always required. It is basically means that the employer must show that they have made a genuine attempt to hire a New Zealanders first before offering a role to the migrant worker. So they have to do the labor market test, which is what we call an advertising the role on any national website in New Zealand, like seek.co.nz. If there are other national websites. So if the role or it comes under the skill level 1 to 3, or which we call a higher skill levels, they have to advertise the same role for at least 14 days to see who is whether the New Zealanders are available to take the role, or they have the skills required to take and ready to take that role. Or if the role is of the lower skill levels, which is skill level 4 and 5 as per the NSCO, which is soon going to be a null as well, they need to then require 21 days of job advertisement with WINS, which is work and income, and any national website to do the labor market tests. So they have to demonstrate to Immigration New Zealand if they haven't found any suitable workers for the role or a New Zealanders for the role, then they can offer this role to a migrant worker who meets the minimum skills or qualifications which is required for the role. However, the labor market test in some cases do not required if the role is listed in a green list and the minimum requirements for the job, including the requirements on the list, is for that occupation is included, and the remuneration for the proposed employment is $67.12 per hour. So this is the first step towards an accredited employer work visa, which is a labor market test.
Oh, perfect. That's good to know. So it all depends on the roles and the skill levels.
Exactly. Some occupations in higher skills require a relevant, say, at least of 2 years of experience or a bachelor's degree to meet a minimum requirements for the role as per the NSCO or a null requirements. Yes, that is the requirements for the skills for the roles to have a different minimum skills or a bachelor's degree or any certain degree required, specific degree required for those roles.
Oh, awesome. Okay, so now let's talk about job check. What is job check and what does it involve?
Right. Good question. So job check is the stage after the labor market test. As an example, employer has completed a labor market test. Now they have not found any New Zealanders available for the role. They want to offer this role to a migrant worker who is either out of New Zealand or in New Zealand. The job check is essentially Immigration New Zealand's way of ensuring the job being offered is genuine, it complies with the employment laws, and it pays the market rate if or where applicable. And it also verifies that the role meets the minimum requirements for an accredited employer work visa for that particular occupation, and thresholds. The employer must submit this job check application before the migrant can apply for their visa. And once this job check is approved, Immigration New Zealand will give a job token, issue a job token to the employer, who then can give this job token to an employee or an applicant migrant worker to apply for an accredited employer work visa. For example, to apply this work visa, they need to ensure they meet the certain requirements. As an applicant for an accredited employer work visa, they have to have a full-time job offer from an accredited employer in New Zealand. They meet the minimum skills threshold, qualifications or experience. They're earning the required wage, or at least the New Zealand's minimum wage. They should have a genuine offer for that role. For some roles, they need to have an English language requirements to meet, especially for the short, low skill roles. They need to provide an English language test. If it's a higher skill role, skill level 1, 2, 3, for example, some managerial positions or higher skill positions for an accredited employer work visa, they do not require to provide an English language test. In addition to that, they also need to meet good character requirements, which means they should not have any criminal convictions in their home countries or in New Zealand. They should meet the good character requirements of Immigration New Zealand, as well as they should be in a good health condition as one of the other key requirements to apply for an accredited employer work visa.
Excellent. Thank you, Gurpreet, for explaining that. That was very well explained. I do have a question for you. So what are some common mistakes or challenges that employers or applicants face with this process?
Thanks, Rosie. This is one of the most important questions. I think is related to this particular category. One big challenge is a lack of information to the common public. We often see the scams where fake offers are given to the people, where there are exchange of money in return of the job offers. We highly recommend to people, and we encourage people, do not get trapped yourself in such scams. In terms of employers' perspective, yes, they have to make sure the job descriptions they are advertising for the role or using in the job check applications, they must have advertised the detailed job descriptions, the correct pay rates, and they should meet the requirements for the applications of an accredited employer work visa or a job check applications for the role they wanted to hire a migrant worker or a New Zealanders if they find. So for a migrant worker, I would also say a common mistake is assuming they can apply a visa before a job check is approved. That's not how the process works. They have to make sure the job check is approved, the job check token is received by the employer, and then they are eligible to apply, they can apply to a work visa application.
Yeah, so it's really important to get advice and follow each step carefully.
Exactly. And working with, like you said, a licensed immigration advisors or immigration lawyers can make a huge difference in ensuring everything is compliant and efficient. So that you can take a professional guidance, which will make a big difference in when they represent your applications in a way which we call ready-to-go applications, in a way so that they ensure that you meet the relevant requirements and you may have not further issues when immigration officers will assess your applications and decides whether they want to approve the visas or they want to ask further questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Gurpreet. That was an incredibly informative and clear explanation from your end. So just to quickly summarize, the accredited employer work visa is a 3-step process. So the employer must first be accredited, and then they would need to complete a job check to ensure the role is genuine, it meets the pay and legal requirements. It may also involve labor market tests for certain roles. And once the job check is approved, a job token is issued. The migrant worker will then need the job token to apply for the work visa. If you're an employer or a migrant worker navigating this process, make sure to stay informed and, if needed, seek professional guidance. Gurpreet, how can people get in touch with you if they need advice regarding immigration and education process, or your teams based in New Zealand or India?
Thank you, Rosie. People, those who need our assistance, or employees, or somebody is looking to study in New Zealand, we can handle all sorts of applications from employer accreditations to work visas and also student visa applications. We have licensed immigration advisors and an education advisors based in New Zealand and in India. They can reach out via email, which is nzvisaenquiries@gmail.com, or they can contact us on 0220747968. If they have any questions, they can WhatsApp us on the same number. If they are out of New Zealand, they can use the country code, which is a 64, and then they can add the contact number, which is again 220747968. I'm always happy to help with the visa applications, educations, and any settlement advice for the people who are looking forward to come to New Zealand, are already in New Zealand and looking forward to get assistance from professionals. And also, just a quick one before we conclude the session, there are new changes coming to skilled migrant category, which we are still looking for further policy documents before we publicly explain it to the people. There are some good news coming for the students who will be getting a higher qualifications in New Zealand, like degrees, and then those who are already gaining a skilled experience in New Zealand. We have some good news for them, and also in a couple of months we have good news for parents post long-term visas coming, which were already announced, and then people can now apply if they meet the requirements.
Amazing. That's really perfect. Well, thanks again, Gurpreet. And to our viewers, we'll try to answer as many questions as we can in our next session, which is going to be very exciting with the coming changes.